I launched my online course and did not sell any courses. Uh-oh. What do you do now? Coming up right now on the Rise to the Top podcast. Welcome, my friends. It's your great and good friend, David Siteman Garland, a.k.a. DSG. I want to welcome you here to the Rise to the Top podcast. How are you? I'm doing well. But let's talk about what's going on. I like that we can have a conversation here on the podcast, and I like to pretend that you're actually responding, and I feel like you just said, oh, I'm doing good, or I'm not doing not so good, whatever it might be. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing today on the podcast is that these episodes that we've been doing, these coaching and consulting episodes on the podcast, and I've heard from tons of listeners really enjoying these, so we're going to keep them up because I think it's really interesting to hear people's real-world problems, real-world challenges when it comes to online courses, digital products and programs, making money from an expertise and passion, building an audience, all that kind of stuff, personal branding, all those things we talk about here on the podcast. And, because when you hear real-world problems and you hear solutions or suggestions, it makes you think of your business and how you could apply it or just pick up some tidbits, some tips, etc. So we're going to continue that today here on the podcast here in episode number 26 with Jeff West. Now, does this happen? Do people sometimes launch an online course and make zero sales? The answer is yes, right? It does happen, unfortunately, right? Now, what you're going to find out here, is this something where we could just adjust it and take something that didn't work and turn it into a success, or do we have to blow up the whole thing and start over? That's really the big thing that we're going to talk about here today on the podcast. And here's the thing I do want to make sure to hammer this home before I get into this with Jeff, is you've got to realize that for people that follow the system, Create Awesome Online Courses, my system, the chance of selling zero courses is very rare, right? But you'll be able to see here through this episode how we can work out and what we could do from there. Because you know what? Just like anything in life with entrepreneurship and business, there's going to be things that you do that don't work out the first time or the second time or the third time. And those that stick with it and are willing to put in the work end up being successful in the long run. And so that's the key thing I want you to keep in mind here as we get into this coaching consulting episode with Jeff. We're not going to shy away from any difficult questions. We're going to dive right into it. Let's see if we can come up with a great solution and a strategy that Jeff can use along with tactics, all that kind of good stuff. So without further ado, let's get it. Let's see if we can play a little doctor today and fix Jeff's issue. All right, my friends. So now I am joined by Jeff West from a very unique location, possibly our most unique in podcast history. Jeff, where are you at right now?
I am actually in the local library in a private room in the Giddings, Texas library. I live so far out in the middle of nowhere, I had to drive somewhere just to be able to do it.
I love it. So, this might be, I would have to say, probably our first podcast from the Giddings Public Library, most likely. I would have to say. I'm excited, Jeff, give us just we got to do a little context kind of for everyone that's listening here. And then we're going to kind of dive into some of the challenges and see if we cannot figure those out today. But just give us a little context, just kind of the brief Cliff's Notes version about kind of who you are and what you do to get started.
All right. Well, I am a sales trainer by trade. I had 30 years in sales and sales leadership. The last 20 years of that were actually in field sales management with a Fortune 500 nationally recognized insurance company. I normally don't list the company's name. I just keep it kind of quiet.
That's fine.
But and the last 10 of that, I was actually a state manager for them in Texas. So I have a lot of history in sales and sales management and training salespeople.
Okay.
And in the mix of all of that, I retired from that about 4 years ago, and I had a book that was coming out. It's called The Unexpected Tour Guide, and it was a great sales fable. It won some awards, and I began to travel and speak and do workshops for sales leaders and salespeople. Well, during that time, I so wish I had met you earlier. During that time, I really did not do a great job of building my list, but I did have a following of people who would know me, and they would see me on Facebook, and so I did develop that. But my background primarily is in sales training and sales leadership training, and it's just what I love to do. I have such a passion for salespeople to help them get it.
Cool, I love it. And you know what I know for a fact, because I've been involved in this too over time, is that I know that this is not only something obviously that you love, but it's a very profitable niche, which is going to be like why we're going to work out these challenges today, because there's definitely opportunities to train salespeople, because that's who your target market is, right? There's salespeople. Are they is there anything more or less specific than that? Is there a specific subset of them, or how would you describe who your target audience is?
I targeted down to people in outside sales, people that have to do proactive training. The majority of people who follow me are in the insurance industry, but I wanted to make it just slightly broader than that. So it's anyone in outside sales that their sales model requires a proactive prospecting.
Okay. Now let's talk about the course here, just to give us the kind of a little bit of context on that. What's the course all about? What's the big hook? What's the promise of the course?
Okay. The course is survival skills for commission salespeople in outside sales, the proven step-by-step how-to system to equip outside salespeople to gain customers, earn incomes, and love their life in sales. And it's a 12-module course, lots of bonuses. It literally takes them A to Z. You could take someone who's never been in sales, and if they follow this, they'll get through and they'll become successful on the other end if they'll do what I teach them.
Okay, got it. Now, let's talk about where the challenge here comes in. So you sent us, obviously, in some questions via email and via form, and I took a good look at them. But I kind of want to hear just like briefly in your own words, because you launched this course, didn't get the numbers that you wanted to. Let's kind of talk about the issue, and let's see if we can work our way through it about some of the next steps. So why don't you I'll let you kind of take it and let me know where I can help and where the challenges are with this.
Okay. Well, they spent most of my efforts on building the course, and obviously not enough time and effort on building my list, because I actually got myself backed into a corner just a bit, David. I have some national exposure with some people I know, and I was going on some podcast interviews with some pretty big shows in May and June with a guy named Jeff Shore and with Bob Berg. And so
I know Bob Berg. Okay, that's funny. I know him personally. Yeah,
he's a great guy. By the way, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame when I was there with him last month. It was awesome. But in those podcasts, I went ahead and announced, okay, the course would be coming out at the end of June. And I really it was great that I did it in one respect, because it forced me to finish up because I needed to do that. But at the same time, because I spent all the effort on building the course, I did a poor job, in my opinion, of building the list, because I felt like most of the people that I had in the mix were kind of specialized and they would follow right into it. And I'm sure that was a mistake. So I followed your email series pretty darn close. You gave us permission to just kind of swipe that, and I tweaked it for my industry, and I thought it was great. Did the 3 free video training series, and I got some great feedback on that. People were engaged with it. But I believe probably what I may have done is I may have, I've emailed a little bit about this, but I probably, my price on it was $697. And in sales training, they will range anywhere from $197 up to about, $1397. And mine is a full course, so I felt like it was fine to be at least in the upper middle range. But my target audience that follows me seem to be more new salespeople and their leaders. And those new salespeople in particular, I sent out an email kind of asking, okay, to some specific people why they didn't buy. And in that mix, the biggest feedback I got back was twofold. Number one, some of them had so many things going on that they missed the deadline. And number two, some of them said that their income wasn't consistent enough. And so I think maybe a payment plan, even though it's probably not the right choice, just like you teach, it's probably not the right choice for most people in that initial launch, maybe mine. Maybe I should have tweaked it a little bit. Other than that, I got a lot of play. Sales managers, I encourage the sales managers to use the free training series with their people, but to get them to sign up for the program too. And I was face to face on the video for part of it to get that across. But I think in hindsight, a lot of them were using it, and not all of their people were going to sign up and actually get on the distribution list. So that might have been an error there too.
Okay, so here's the thing. We've got a great basis here. It's just going to be about tweaking it, right? Because I really like the concept for your course, and it should sell. It's just going to be, this isn't going to be, because honestly, and you know me, Jeff, from well enough from being a student of mine. If you came on here and I thought it was terrible, I would tell you, right? I would say, we need to break this whole thing down. We need to burn down the village and all survivors and redo it. That's not what I see here by any means. I mean, the first thing is you mentioned this in the email to me, so I'm going to repeat this for people too, so they can hear this as well. You launch with 256 subscribers. That would be low. You know that. I always encourage people to get the proper data, right? Is to be at that 500 to 1,000 range of subscribers. Now, I'm just saying that from a standpoint. Am I saying that if you doubled it, you would do that much better? I don't know. But obviously, that's one thing to think about that we're going to have to really talk about list growth strategies today for sure. Now, by the way, did you sell any courses?
No, I actually didn't sell any.
Okay, so that's what we really have to figure out here. So the second thing is, in terms of, you said you think a lot of people on your email list or the people that follow you are new to sales. So I've got two questions on that. Number one, how do you know that?
Based on their emails to me, based on interactions on Facebook, the primary followers that are in my list right now tend to be in insurance companies like Aflac and Colonial Life, and a lot of their salespeople. It seems to be that. Plus, when they would engage with me on their emails back to me, it's a lot about how to prospect and all that. So I really believe that's where the target, that's where the audience is.
Okay. Now, second question, which is equally important. Are these, or who are the people that you really want to serve with this course?
Actually, I really do want to serve that niche. I want to serve those people that are new, because I have such a heart for salespeople who are struggling to get going, and I'm good at teaching them. So that's the niche. And then I want to help their leaders be better at teaching them.
Okay, got it. So that's a good thing. So first and foremost, I would think, I'm dead serious with this, that you should start using words like insurance and insurance sales in your copy. Because I know you kind of didn't at first, because you're like, well, and by the way, we all have a tendency to do this. This is not a uncommon issue. Like, you think, okay, well, I'm going to make a course just for horses, right? And then you're like, but what about cats? Do you know what I mean? There's some cat. What if some cat? I think it'd be good for cats too. And then you're like, you know what? But maybe some dogs. But definitely not cows, right? So you kind of start quantifying that way. When if you just stuck with the horse, it would be successful. Do you get what I'm saying? Because over time, great example of this. I think I might have even used him before on the podcast. Are you familiar with Michael Port? You ever heard of him before?
I am. I'm very familiar with him.
So
yes.
I know Michael well. And by the way, a little fun fact, he was once in an episode of Sex and the City, which is neither here nor there. But, he did a really interesting thing. His whole brand is called Book Yourself Solid, right? And what he did, though, when he started with his first training programs and his courses and even one-on-one coaching for him, is he focused literally on gyms, period. Like, he would go in there and help fill gyms with more members. And everything he wrote about, everything he did, was about gyms getting more members. Now, over time we're talking 15 years, right? He's kind of broadened out a little bit to be more about, how small businesses can fulfill, and get more clients, right? But he started with that very specific niche. Now, the reason I asked you that question was because if you told me, you know what, I don't really want to serve insurance people. I'd want it to be more, I want anybody. I would narrow it down, because it's going to make your experience that you're sharing with these people that more relevant. Okay.
Would you go as far as renaming the course?
Well, right now it's called Survival Skills for Commission Salespeople and Outside Sales. I would actually change it for insurance, however you want to get that word in there. I'll let you kind of work with the copy there. I like the tagline is perfect. The proven step-by-step how-to system for equipping outside sales. But the thing is, instead of saying for outside salespeople, I would actually make it about them, right? So like saying like for equipping you or whatever to gain customers, earn incomes, and love life, or even say like equipping, insurance, whatever, however you want to get it in there, quantify people so that when they land on it, they say this is for me or not for me. Right? You want it to be polarizing, because I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, I don't know if this is for me or not, right? Like, I'm trying to think, if I land on here and I'm an insurance person, nothing's really indicating to me that this is like my green light, right? Like, are you familiar with Mark Dawson, who's a Create Awesome Online Courses student as well? Have you seen him at all?
I'm not.
So Mark is one of in our 7-figure club. So that means he's making 7 figures a year with his course. Okay. And what Mark did is he's got a course on Facebook ads. Now, how many courses are there in the world on Facebook ads, right? 20,000 courses, probably. Okay. But what Mark has done, and by the way, how many courses are there on sales? A lot. 20,000 courses as well. But what Mark has done, and this was the secret to his success, is that he's an author. He made it just for authors.
Okay.
Facebook ads for authors. That was his thing, right? You can look him up. Mark Dawson, he's in England. And, when I see that, now I'm an author, I land there, and now there's 20,000 courses, but there's one that's Facebook ads for authors. Even if it's more expensive, which one am I going for?
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like, for me, it'd be like, if there was a course on how to hit softballs farther and a course on how to hit softballs farther for people that are left-handed, I am buying the left-handed one because I'm left-handed. So that would be kind of the first action step is I would actually do a little bit of a let's call it a mini rebrand there of the thing. Now, does that mean the content needs to change in the course? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? Probably not. I'll leave that up to you. Because I think now we just got to get the offer down. That's really what this comes down to. You know what I mean? Now, second of all, on your survival skills for commission salespeople.com that I'm looking at right now, what'd you use for the site? Oh, it's CourseCats.
I used WordPress and CourseCats.
Okay. So this, first of all, the format is great. The design needs to be upgraded. Because to me, while the template is great, like what we're using here, the font and the kind of the little things like that, they need to be more cohesive in terms of branding. Like right now, it looks a little cartoony to me. It looks a little kind of disjointed. It doesn't look as professional as I would want to see from you, Now, here's a question on that. Do you use it? Do you do it all yourself, I'm assuming?
I did.
Now, couple routes you could go there. You could always email the support team and concierge team. They might be able to point you in some good directions there with CourseCats. It might be worth having someone, I don't even want to say necessarily hiring a designer because I don't want you to go too bananas here. But this to me, when I look at this, it doesn't speak to me the way that you do speak to me. Like you speak to me, you're very professional. You know exactly what you're talking about. You ooze a confidence and know what you're doing, but you're also like you genuinely care about people. I can tell that from you. And this is not showing that to me. This is just showing me this is like a random, like it looks too templatey. So that'd be one thing too that I would definitely look at because we could do all these cool traffic strategies. We could do all these fancy schmancy things, but what if people are landing on something that they don't want or they don't believe in when they get there, right? Because what's your opt-in page right now?
The opt-in page, I've got multiples. The ones I used on the podcast actually were an ebook copy of my book and then a free PDF, and I would have them do it by text. They would join by text. But when they would go to the actual webpage, I actually sent them to links that were part of the jeffcwest.com site. And that site looks better than what I did on the other one. And I did have some help on that site.
Yeah. I think you just need a little, it's just, branding is an interesting thing. And some people will tell me, that some people will tell you and they're wrong that branding doesn't matter. Like they'll say that doesn't really matter. It's just about your content and your quality. It absolutely is about the content and your quality, but the branding 100% matters because it's people's first impression of you, right? So meaning I know people, just as an example, that I've done business with or become friends with really because of their branding. I know that sounds like silly to a certain degree, but I went to their website, because anyone's going to go to your website right away. What's the impression that it's making when they get there, right? And you have the right tool with it using CourseCats and ConversionCats or whatever it's using, but it just needs like a branding revamp. I don't know how to quite explain it more than that. Do you know what I mean?
If you get a chance to look at jeffcwest.com, that one to me looks better because I think it does a better job of what you're describing, but I did the CourseCats one myself. Yeah.
So I think, and this one still, I think this one could still use a little more. Now, I'm not a designer. I'm not a developer, but I can look at something and tell you it doesn't look right to me. Do you know what I mean? And this to me needs like a little, I like the photo of you. I think it's cool, even though the photos are a little bit different. Like you've got you, like we've got cool Jeff on the top left here that's got his fun shirt on. And then we've got professional Jeff with the coat on right here. But I would want to see something, I think it's more like the colors and the font. And I think if you got those a little bit more reflective of what a salesperson would be very interested in, I think that would help you with it for sure. And then of course, adding in the words insurance and things like that as well, right?
Okay.
But I think I would focus adding that word in insurance, right? Or however you want to call it, insurance salespeople, people in the insurance. You know that better than me. Just doing that is going to completely niche your brand even better than it is now. Now it's just like, right now I look at this, it's like any salesperson, maybe, right? Is that me? I don't know. But if it's insurance, and that's just got to be hammered home on all your copy, all that kind of stuff, So those So first thing, so I always like to make sure we're like super actionable, right? So first thing is mini revamp of the course to a certain degree, meaning at least on the branding side and the promise side, adding in that this is for insurance people, right? Insurance salespeople. The second thing is taking a look at the site, and whether that's, I'm not saying that you bring in my designer Natalie or Craig, who does a lot of work with Create Awesome Online Courses students, but it might be even worth chatting with someone to see if they could give it. And again, that's entirely up to you. I think it will make a difference. Do you know what I mean? To make it just a lot better. And I think it's going to help you a lot for that. So that's number 2. Now, number 3, where else do you think we could go with this? I mean, obviously we could talk about pricing. We can also talk about list building. What do you view is the most important?
I think right now I can get list building things from getting back in and kind of re-going through the Listapalooza section, because you had a lot of great things in there. Would like to get your thoughts on the payment option. From emails that we've done, you made a suggestion on about maybe going with $497 on the course price or 3 payments of $197. There's another option that I found out about, and I want your opinion. PayPal credit. PayPal credit has an option where they don't have to make payments for the first 6 months and they'll have no interest, but they need to pay it off during that 6 months so that they don't pay the interest. Their interest is outrageous. So you might have to edit that out.
No, it is. But PayPal collects. They pay you and then they collect, correct?
Correct.
Like
That's exactly what it would be. And that way they could get it. They could access the course for free during the 30-day look, because I did exactly what you suggested. I gave them a 30-day money-back guarantee. And that way they don't feel like they're risking anything. And then if they decide they want their money back, well, they'll get their money back, but they don't have to pay anything at that point. I would just I'd be refunding, I guess, to PayPal. I haven't checked that out, but I wanted your thoughts.
Yeah. I personally have not used it, but I have heard things about it that people like. So I would say that it's worth a shot. Do you know what I mean? Because as you know, the great meta thing here is talking sales about a sales course, right? Just like I talk about a course on courses all the time, right? So it's, the sales strategy of risk reversal, right? And making it where it's like, hey, this is on me, type of thing, I think will help you for sure. Because I think, at the end of the day, people are taking it, when people are investing in your course, people are definitely taking a gamble on you and your strategies, and anything that you can do that helps mitigate that risk to them and say, listen, yeah, exactly. Like, listen, have PayPal pay it off for you type. You know what I mean? Use the PayPal credit. I've seen Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels use that very effectively with his training. So I would think that would be something to definitely look into. I don't see any like red light flags with that for sure.
Okay. I have some more podcast interviews that are coming up in the sales industry. And should I kind of stop the free video series launch from even being able to go out and just have them opt into a lead magnet, or should I what are your thoughts there? Because I'm going to be having these interviews and I've got to make these tweaks at the same time.
Yeah. So first of all, whenever you do an interview, you want to send them to a lead magnet, right? Which could be a video series, could be whatever it might be. I would pick your best one that's your most highest converting right now, at least of getting people on your email list, and do that. So like if you're going to be messing around with the video series, I wouldn't do that. If it's going to be the book, and by the way, I would then go for the gusto here and make it about insurance.
Okay.
The lead magnet, like meaning me, and even say that on the podcast. Say like, I've been known as helping insurance people, because let me give you an example. Let's just say 1,000 people listen to the podcast. Okay. 1,000 people. We'll just go with that. 1,000 people listen to the podcast, right? And let's just say in your olden days here, if just saying, hey, this is for commission salespeople, let's just say of those people, I don't know, 75 people sign up for your email list in that podcast. Let's just say, okay? But once they get down to your course, they're not really sure. They're more advanced. They're all over the place. Maybe some of them are just looking for a job in the field. Like, we don't even know who they are, right? As opposed to going on there and saying, listen, I hope you enjoyed this content today. And, I'm sure it's applicable to you regardless of where you're at in your sales journey. But I want to say where I focus and where I specialize, I want to help insurance people, insurance salespeople. I don't care if you're just getting started. You've been at it for 15 years. I've got the strategies to help you. And I put together X just for people that are going to be selling insurance, right? And that could be, like I said, that could be your book. It could be whatever, however you want to craft it. Is it something new? It might be. Do you know what I mean? A checklist, a cheat sheet, something cool, but just for these insurance folks. And now let's just say that you don't get 75 people this time. You get 20, but they're all these perfect customers for you. That's what makes it worthwhile, right? So I would really be strategic in terms of, like what you give away is almost irrelevant. It's more important to how you positioned it and can you get them intrigued about it, right? Like, is it a checklist? Is it your book? Is it, even if it was your book that you could say, we cater towards insurance, whatever you want to say with it, that's fine. It could be something that already exists that you kind of tweak, or it could be something new. Either way.
Exactly. Gotcha. I have one more question too, if you still have some time.
Absolutely.
I've got a network of contacts of basically large sales team managers because of what I've done in the past. And I have been thinking about the idea, once we get to a certain point, I'll be doing joint ventures just like you teach. I'm not there yet. But with these sales managers, what I thought about doing, their teams are going to average anywhere from 300 to 500 salespeople. And I thought about offering that sales manager a joint venture thing, but instead of actually giving them the joint venture or the affiliate commission, having them basically apply that to the purchase of the course for their people. So when I message it, I'll say, your sales managers they've actually paid for half of the course. So if you want to sign up for the course, you do it. I would actually get the same amount of money into me either way, but it would also make the sales manager look great. And it would be basically the same as a JV venture.
So just to make sure I understand it. So let's say the course is, now do you think you're going to change the price? You're going to stick with $697?
I'm going to go with what you recommended. I'm going to $497
because we talked about that in an email. So $497, 3 payments of $197. I like that. So what you're saying is, if you went to this salesperson, so tell me the numbers on that, just so I can understand exactly how that would work. So you'd go to them and say go to the sales manager, say, hey, this guy's got 100 salespeople. What are you going to do?
What I would say is, if I were doing an affiliate arrangement with anyone, and on the $497, the affiliate would basically be getting half of that, or roughly $250. And instead of actually paying that sales manager the $250, I say, what I want to do is help you look good to your people. I will basically cut the price of the course in half, but I won't really be cutting the price of the course in half as far as the messaging goes. I'll say, instead of actually paying you the affiliate commission, we'll apply that affiliate commission to every single person who enrolls in the course. So they'll get the course for half price. I'll get the same as if we did a joint venture affiliate arrangement, and it makes their sales manager look like a hero because they're paying half the course content price.
I like it. I like it because if you can, especially with those numbers that you mentioned, or it could be 100 people, 200 people, whatever it might be, even if it's 50 people, right? I like that because I'm thinking about this too, is that sales managers, they bring in sales trainers all the time. I mean, they bring in people, they probably, how much, I've been to those before, like a long time ago in St. Louis. I went to several and they were great, where I went in there and I don't know how much it was. The ticket price was good, but what you could do is you could show that there's higher value in what you're doing. They can learn at their own pace, and it's a better cost for them, right? Versus bringing in some guy who's going to sit there and talk for 4 hours and that's it, So you sell that.
Most of these people will already bring me in for keynotes and workshops, which are several $1,000s in my fees anyway. So it's good for their people, and it's a great. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and that's also, by the way, exactly how you can position it. You say, listen, if you're bringing me in, you could bring me in, fly me in, whatever it is. This is how much I cost, right? And for a few hours, and my half day or my full day or my keynote, whatever it is. Here's what it is. And by the way, you could also do this course option where you're going to get me on demand 24/7. Do you know what I mean? With my perfect training and our follow up and stuff like that. And I think that would be a great opportunity for them because they could see it as a way that they could maybe save a little bit and have more long term value. So I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea.
It also doesn't give the impression that I'm discounting the course because I really not.
Right. Right. Exactly. And like the sales guy can go in and say, listen, this is normally a $500 thing per seat, but we're getting it for $250 per seat for you right now, type of thing, And also, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of leverage there when you're able to get into these companies that have lots of people, because you can come in and say, hey, here we go. Here's an on-demand platform for you guys. I love that. One
more question too, is it now that I'm going to be making these tweaks, because one thing I've tried to do is follow what you say when you coach me on these things. I'm going to make the tweaks. I'm going to be building that email list up to getting it somewhere between 500 and 1,000. When I relaunch at that point, would I do it? You feel like I should do it more as an excuse launch because I got payment plan options now, and yeah, I'm going to tweak the branding a little bit, but do it more like that? Or you think I should do a whole new VIP launch?
So, and by the way, for people that are listening to this that are like, what the heck are we talking about, right? Is is that this is what we teach inside of Create Awesome Online Courses, is that you start with a VIP launch, which is your first launch to get your initial customers in. And then from there on, there's different types of launches and promotions you could do. One being an excuse one, which is basically like, hey, I just got my dog groomed, so we're going to do a special launch. Or, hey, it's Independence Day, we're doing this. We call those excuse launches. So one thing is, it'll be very interesting to see how here's one way of doing it. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but this is what I would almost do. Okay. Is that I would kind of stop your list now and start a new list as well. Okay. Of just people that are insurance. And meaning brand new people that you're going to be bringing in here. And I would essentially do the VIP launch for those people. Does that make sense? So meaning they haven't seen your VIP launch. They haven't done it. Right. What I would also do congruently, and this doesn't happen at the same time, so I don't want to make it go crazy, but you could do it at the same time, right? Is you could also then go back to those first 200 plus people, right? And do an excuse for them. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because then, let's say none of them still buy. Well, that's fine. We just know that wasn't the right people, and now we've got the right people. But I'm saying, you send the 256 people, and you say, hey, by the way, got some great news. We've got payment plans. We've got new pricing, and we've got this and that. Just go straight for the gusto there. Do you know what I mean? As long as you enroll by Friday, blah, blah, blah type of thing. And then the new people, I think, are going to be pretty well quantified. Then after that, you could kind of combine it and move it on from there. But I would kind of redo the VIP launch, knowing now that you're really going to hammer home things like the payment PayPal plan and why this is for insurance people, and getting your story in there and all that kind of stuff, I think is going to be definitely the right move. Okay.
Sounds good. I appreciate you, man. Very, very much.
Oh, I appreciate you. I know that you're hard. I know that you're going to stay at this. And this is, it's challenging. I know it can be disappointing sometimes when you have something like that. And what I've noticed is, like I said, and I say this on many podcasts, and it's very true, is that a lot of times it just barely misses the mark, right? It barely misses the mark. It's one of those things where, you're thinking, well, man, I need to move the needle a little bit, and it's going to completely change the game for you. So I think just by looking at the branding, and I'm talking about that both in language and who it's for, and the looks and appearance of it, and then going from, I think you come out with a little bit of a revamped look, different colors, that kind of thing. And then with the focus on insurance, and then the lead magnet that leads just for insurance people, I think we're on to something great here. So I want it, and we will report back. We said this too. I haven't really come up with how we're going to do that yet, but I've told everyone that comes on for a call like this that we're not just going to send you out into the distance here. I want to hear back, and I'm sure people will be very interested to hear as well.
Hey, a couple of things, if I could, to the listeners, because I know not everybody that listens to this podcast is a part of Create Awesome Online Courses yet. So I'll tell you two things. Don't hesitate on that. Going through the process of building this course, and I've got a lot of experience, Dave, you know that, and going through this course has been so great for me to get my course ready, to get my content where I wanted it to be. And also, I'll tell you guys too, David's for real. He literally, I don't think I've ever sent an email that he didn't read and get back to me when he could. And he has been very helpful. So this is a very real, David's a great guy at this. And the other thing I'll tell you, if you built your course already, don't lose heart if you didn't get the sales you wanted in the beginning. I've been in business long enough. I can tell you sometimes it's just a tweak. Just like David said, a little tweak is all you need to make it super successful. So I'm very excited and I'm very appreciative.
Well, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that shameless plug. I'll send you the check in the mail for it. No, I'm just kidding. No, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And thank you. That does mean a lot. And, wish you best of luck with everything. And by the way, we'll make sure to link up everything below. And it'll be interesting. I want to see people see the revamped eventually over time with this as well. But the best links to send people to check out, just to see what maybe they just want to follow along with your progress. Or, hey, you know what? You never know. There might be some insurance salespeople or aspiring insurance salespeople that are listening to this as well. You never know here on the internet. So where can we send folks to check out more about you?
Send everybody to www.jeffcwest.com. You will always be able to find anything there. And I know most of your audience, they're people like me. They're content creators. They're people who know a lot already. But if you love someone who's in sales and you want them to do well, send them to me. I got your back on that.
That's right. I can tell you right now, from what I know from Jeff and from our correspondence and him in a program, I would definitely trust sending anyone his way. So thank you so much, Jeff, and best of luck. And we'll make sure to have an update from you soon.
Sounds good, David. I appreciate you, man.
All right, so that about wraps it up. And, I just want to reiterate that again, that a lot of times that line between success and failure is very small. And where people get themselves into trouble is if something doesn't work out the first time or barely doesn't work out or whatever it might be, they start blowing up everything. For example, if you went into the gym and after one day you weren't fit, or a couple weeks you weren't completely fit, and you start saying, well, these gym things don't work. This workout doesn't work. And a lot of times it's being able to not only time, but tweaking and trusting the process and being able to get in there and say, hey, you know what? I am going to stick with this. Yeah, I'll make some changes along the way and think long term. So I'm very excited to see what happens with Jeff. And that's going to be just really interesting to see because he's a great guy. As I said on the podcast, he's willing to put in the effort. He's going to make this work and it's going to be a big success. So I can't wait to hear more from him. And by the way, that was a completely unsolicited testimonial. I appreciate the love though from Jeff for Create Awesome Online Courses. And if you, of course, want to check out the #1 program in the world for creating and selling online courses, check out createawesomeonlincourses.com/unlock, which is a special offer just for podcast listeners here of the Rise to the Top podcast. Now, a few other things on the way out here. #1, you can always subscribe to the show at therisetotop.com/subscribe and on iTunes at therisetotop.com/iTunes. Really appreciate if you're on iTunes and you want to hop over and give a quick review for the podcast. Those are always much appreciated. This is very much a niche podcast. This is not a podcast where, it's going to be something for the entire world, if you will. But you know what? Always appreciate reviews because then it tells iTunes that we're super cool and who knows? I don't know. I guess good stuff happens with reviews. So I appreciate those every single review. I read every single one of them of the podcast on iTunes. You can do that at therisetotop.com/iTunes. And by the way, if you have not already, I'm always surprised when people don't know about this. I need to do a better job marketing and telling everyone is that if you have not joined our free Facebook group, we talk about podcast episodes. We talk about everything that we talk about on this podcast, online courses, course creation, digital products and programs, personal branding, building an audience. Join Rise Nation. Go to joinrisenation.com. It is our 100% free Facebook community. So hop on in there to joinrisenation.com, join the Facebook community, get involved with the conversation, or just be a voyeur and watch and see what's going on. You're going to pick up a lot of tidbits. We talk a lot of interesting discussions in there. It's a great, powerful community. Join risenation.com. All right, that's enough links. That's so many links, right? All right. I will see you next time, my friends. This has been David Siteman Garland here on the Rise to Top podcast. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.